Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here on behalf of the League with a number of people who I will introduce as we go on, as we continue. I also would like to introduce Cara Biscaglia, who is the town judge, and she is candidate for town judge. And she's just going to let you wave that she's here, and then she has to go to court. But she would like to, just for you to see her. There are 5 important propositions on the ballot this year, and they will be amendments, if they pass, to the New York State Constitution. The League of Women Voters has prepared a brochure, and I make sure you pick one up. They are right outside the door. They have the explanation of each of the 5 and reasons pro and con. And the League has come out with a position related to Proposition 1, and there are cards out there. You may read this, and you may take it into consideration. We also have, and I think they're now at the table, the 39 early voting sites. Early voting begins tomorrow, and it goes through October 31st. Noon to 9 p.m. on weekdays, noon to 6 p.m. on weekends. And this facility is the location in Amherst, but you may vote at any one of the 39 sites. And finally, there's a little palm card out there. If you need an absentee ballot and have not made an application, you may do so as long as the application is postmarked by October 26th. And you may get the applications by either calling the Board of Elections, or you may download one from the Board of Elections website. It is on this card. And also on this card is the votefor1.org, which is the League's Voter's Guide. We also have this handy brochure that tells you how you can contact all elected officials, federal, state, and local, current officials. So those are waiting outside if you didn't get them when you came in. The rules for today's candidate forum. Candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to respond to each question, and 2 minutes for a closing statement. If you don't need the full 2 minutes for the question, please don't use it, because we have a lot of candidates to get through. There may be no substitutes. In order for us to, the League to be involved, there have to be at least 2 candidates for the office that are able to attend. In the case of the county legislators, in each of the offices, at least one of the candidates was not available. And presentations should be strictly confined to issues, not personalities. The order of opening statements was determined by a draw of lots. Closing statements will be made in the reverse order. Our timekeeper, Mike Egan, is right here, and she's has a red stop sign, and then at 30 seconds, she has a yellow warning. So if you are speaking, please keep an eye on Mike. And I'd like to thank the gentleman who moved so that our timekeepers can be right in the middle. Candidates may not interrupt each other or make personal comments about their opponents. All questions are to be written on the cards, and Barbara Gunderson and Kate Wagner are collecting them. So if you have a question at any time, just put it up and Barbara will trot on over. Only questions for all candidates for each office will be used. And questions that we'll screen, we do screen the questions for their appropriateness, non-redundancy, and time constraints. And the questions will be asked of the candidate in a rotating order. Candidates. There is a green card on the podium. If you would like me to repeat any question, hold up the green card and I will repeat the question happily. Now, the only recording that can be made of this event is being made by Lori Robinson, who is our videographer today. She also happens to be the current president of the league. And it is being live streamed, I guess, just throughout this building. Anyway, so we will have a video record. It will be on our website and on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. That's new. I ask everyone, please turn your cell phones off now. So, let's see. The video may only be viewed in its entirety. Only the press has, according to FCC rules, may use snippets. I don't see them here today. An audience, please do not applaud for candidates' remarks. When all candidates for one office has completed their work, then if you want to applaud for them as we're changing people, you may do so. All right, so our first opening remarks today, and I'm going to ask the candidates to be ready to go to the podium so we don't have to take time in between. And you don't need to wait for me if it's your turn next, okay? Okay, so Lynn Dixon will make her opening remarks for Erie County Comptroller first.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting.
Please speak right into the mic. You can, yeah.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this event, and I also want to thank the town of Amherst and the Senior Center here for providing us this opportunity. I grew up in Amherst. I went to Heim Elementary, Heim Middle, Williamsville North, and I know the important things that this town provides. My mom suffered with Alzheimer's for nearly 17 years, and so for some of that time she would come to the adult daycare, and it provided a wonderful opportunity for my dad to be able to relax a little bit, and my siblings and I to be able to take a little bit of a break as well. I am running for Erie County Comptroller to be really a taxpayer advocate. I was a journalist for 22 years that took the time to listen to both sides of every story. I was a county legislator for 10 years in a district that was Hamburg, Lackawanna, and a portion of South Buffalo. I've been a lifelong independent, and though I run on the Republican and conservative lines, I represented a district that was 3-to-1 Democrat enrollment. Because I do the work of the people. It is not about me. Politics should not be about me. Public service should not be about the person running for office. It should be about you. And especially in the office of Comptroller, it should be the least political office that there is. You are the one that provides the checks and balances. You are the one that provides the transparency. As Comptroller, you are the one that lets the taxpayers know how your money is being spent. I have worked in the Comptroller's office for the last 2 years doing the daily functions of the office. And if you go to the website, we provide a lot of transparency there. We've done a report that kind of boils down the budget to make it easier for you to understand. And we provided a taxpayer checkbook to let you know how your dollars are being spent. Thank you.
You guys ready? My name is Dwayne Whitmer, and I'm the Libertarian candidate for Comptroller. First up, again, I want to thank League of Women's Voters for including minor party candidates. More often than not, we're forgotten about, even though we're on the ballot. Like I said, my name is Dwayne Whitmer. I went to Fredonia State and got a degree in accounting. I spent 5 years in public accounting, auditing counties and unions. And I started my own company at 25 years old. I was told I shouldn't do that, I'd go bankrupt, and it was a struggle for a few years, but 10 years in, my accounting firm has 1,500 tax clients, 56 payroll clients, and 42 bookkeeping clients. We've successfully grown. Throughout that time, I got my enrolled agent, and I successfully represent taxpayers in front of the state and federal government. One thing that has taught me is that while Republicans blame Democrats, Democrats blame Republicans for all your problems, the political class is two wings of the same bird. During COVID, I lost 40% of my payroll clients, 30% of my bookkeeping clients. People were put out of a job, people were left out. The only successful career during COVID was being a politician. No paychecks lost, pensions grew, their benefits grew. They relied on the American tax-paying machine to keep bailing out their pet projects, as evidenced by the newfound Tesla plan, which is now selling off its assets. They spent $1 billion taxpayer dollars. Your money, not their money, they didn't come up with it, it's your money. They spent $1 billion and have nothing to show for it. They gave a billionaire $1 billion and now are selling off the assets at pennies on a dollar. More often than not, that's how the political class operates. It's time the comptroller's office doesn't play defense and goes on the offense and starts defunding the political class, holding them accountable. We got $200 million of COVID relief funds, and currently we're working on a FOIL that shows Erie County might have been shafted. I'm working with foiling the comptroller's office to find where that money went, and I'm not getting great feedback. It's time we turn the comptroller's office to an internal audit function. Thank you.
I too want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Town of Amherst for hosting us here today. You know, after 32 years of teaching good government to my students at Canisius College, I think I know good government when I see it. And what's happening in the Comptroller's office now is not good government. Now, you don't have to take my word for that. The firm that they hired to do a peer review, the hand-picked firm to do a peer review, issued a report last year littered with phrases like serious deficiencies and recurring nonconformance. Recurring nonconformance, that means that they were cited earlier in reports and they still hadn't fixed the problems, brought them into generally accepted accounting standards. Couple that with the behavior of the office, attacking everybody in sight, their government partners, in the middle of a pandemic, people they should be working with, just attacking them ad nauseum. And I think you would agree with me that there is a need for a culture change in that office. And I have vowed, if elected, to affect that culture change. And that culture change is going to be born of and based on respect. Respect for the important work that's done in that office. Respect for the people, the career professionals who perform that work. And most importantly, respect for the people of Erie County. The people of Erie County, regardless of race, political party, or religion. The people of Erie County deserve nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you all. The first question goes first to Lynn Dixon. How will you make the Comptroller's office more transparent and less political?
Well, I think I have my entire adult life has been in the public eye, whether it was as a journalist or whether it was as a county legislator or running for office, and I comport myself in a way that is respectable, and I'm so glad that we're not talking about personalities, because one of the problems is sometimes people run races against people other than me. I'm running for Erie County Comptroller, me. I have handled myself in a very proper way for my entire adult life. The office has won national awards. We have put everything on our website so that you know how the COVID money is being spent, and so that you know what you're paying in taxes when you go to the gas pump, so that you know how the administration is spending your tax dollars. We put everything up on the website. Kevin Hardwick knows the person I am because he served with me in the legislature. The day I left the legislature, when I term limited myself out of the legislature, because I said in 2009 when I first ran, I would not serve more than 10 years. He called me the heart and soul of the legislature. He is not running against the current comptroller, he's running against me. And my entire adult life has been, I handle myself in a way that's proper, it's how I was raised. My dad was a World War II veteran, and he came home from the war, and with the GI Bill, he bought his parents the first house they ever owned, a double, in South Buffalo, told him to keep the rental income. My grandfather worked in the grain elevators. My mom was, she raised us all to be good, decent citizens. He knows that. He's running against me and Dwayne. He's not running against the current comptroller.
Can you repeat that point? Thank you. Yes, please.
How will you make the controller's office more transparent and less political?
Thank you. First way to do that is to run a non-politician. I've never been in office before. I've never won an election in my life. What I do have is 15 years of experience actually as an accountant, running my own accounting firm successfully, and getting experience as an accountant, which is what the comptroller is. Secondly, to make it more transparent, we're going to become the internal audit function. We're going to be doing cost benefits analysis and issuing reports more frequently that show not only where your taxpayers or tax dollars are going, but if it's beneficial. Like I said before with the Buffalo billion, that was a massive loss for you guys, and no one cared. Someone went to a country club jail and nothing came of it. You guys don't get a refund. You guys get nothing back. Matter of fact, you guys keep paying taxes. Your taxes go up. Congratulations, they gambled with your money. They lost your money, and they're going to take more of your money. If someone did that to you in the real world, you would stop using them. You wouldn't hire a contractor to fix your roof, and there's still a hole in your roof. You wouldn't say, well, we got to go back with this guy. He raised the price. It's great. I'm going to start holding people accountable and working with other agencies that if this happens, we're going to start going after the people involved in giving this money out. I do believe that it's criminal to take your money at force, blow it on pet projects that get nothing in return, and then demand you guys pay more in taxes. They treat you guys like tax cattle. That's all you are. This is a parasitic relationship right now. If you don't believe me, stop paying your taxes. What happens? Men with guns will come and take your stuff. This is all proven to be true. I represent clients in front of the IRS all the time. That's exactly what happens. So it's time we start fighting back by not allowing the criminal activity to occur. Thank you.
That's okay. How will I do it? I just will. I mean, that office has to be transparent. It is the taxpayer's watchdog, as Elfrida Slominski reminded us a long time ago. But it can't be a watchdog with rabies, biting the house guests and the owners, striking out at everybody. I won't be politicizing that office. I won't be using it as a safe haven for candidates of my political party who fail in running for a political office as a consolation prize. I mean, let's face it, that's done a lot. That's done on both sides of the aisle. It's a Democrat-Republican thing. It's done all over. But it's not the way to depoliticize an office. And finally, I won't be using that office to run for another office. I mean, this is this is, I think, will be the end of my political career. And I hope to make it a good one. And I hope that years from now, people will talk about Kevin Hardwick in the same way that we talk about Elfrida Slominski. And she hasn't been controller since 1993. So I hope to follow in her footsteps. Thank you.
Okay, and the second question goes first to Dwayne. He's ready. What changes to the Comptroller's office do you think need to be made and why?
The biggest change I would make is, before I came here, I wanted to be prepared because I believe in having actual data to back up what I say. And I actually foiled 5 different agencies in Erie County, the Comptroller's office, the Clerk's office, County Executive's office, 2 other minor agencies, to ask one simple question, and that is how many accountants, CPAs, accreditations do we have in the Comptroller's office handling your money? You'd want qualified people. I know this is a shock. And 5 agencies have told me that they don't know. We don't know the qualifications of people handling your money. Again, I bring up a contractor. Let's talk about a doctor. Let's say you fall and break your leg and you're getting surgery done and you're talking to your doctor and you say, "Doctor, what have you done?" "Oh, we don't know. We don't know the qualifications of the people operating on you." You would hopefully go somewhere else. But in the office that's handling your finances and issuing your financial reports, they don't know the skill set and qualifications of the people working there. The first thing I would do is start figuring out who's what. If we have accountants, if we have CPAs, if we have any type of accreditation on our employees. And if not, I would start bringing in actual certified people to handle this money and handle these finances so we can issue better, more transparent reports. I believe the Comptroller's office, in addition to what it does, should become an internal audit function where we're auditing spending, but also auditing projects. If a town wants to implement a project, we can analyze the pros and cons. Eerily similar to we're talking about the Bill Stadium and how we're gonna raise your taxes to give the $1 billion NFL and the $1 billion Pagulas more of your money. But there's been no study done. Now, the Pagulas hired a firm on their pocket to do a study. That's great, but I want an independent opinion of someone who's qualified to issue that opinion before they spend, again, billions of dollars of your money with no recourse when it fails. This is tragic.
Terry, can you repeat the question?
What changes to the Comptroller's office do you think need to be made and why?
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned earlier, there has to be that culture change based on respect. Respect that doesn't exist there now that we need so dearly. But I also think that a Comptroller can put their stamp on that office. And the stamp that I want to put on that office is to make the Comptroller's office the hub for independent policy analysis in Erie County. Because the legislature and the other elected officials are at the mercy right now of the county executive. The county executive has the budget office, the county executive has the number crunchers, the county executive has a decided advantage over everybody else. I would like the Comptroller's office to become similar to what the Congressional Budget Office has become at the federal level, a source of independent information, policy analysis. So a new idea comes up, whether it's ErieNet or a convention center or whatever, we can get some independent analysis of that. Now my background, my PhD, is in political science with a concentration in public policy analysis and evaluation, heavy in statistics. I think those are the sorts of skills, I think I have the sort of skill sets to put that stamp on the office. I think we can also look at opportunities also to promote cooperation, intermunicipal cooperation, which I'm also big on. You know, Joel Jambra was here earlier, I'm not sure if he was. He won election twice on cooperation, on regionalism. That's something that went away when Joel left office. I think it's something someone needs to bring back, because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there where if we cooperate, county, cities, towns, villages, school districts, I think we can save the taxpayers some money.
And can you repeat the question one more time, please?
What changes to the Controller's office do you think need to be made and why?
So, again, I think the Controller's office should be the most independent office in Erie County. And if you provide transparency and you work with the different departments and say to them, let's work together to identify whether or not we can find some inefficiencies in your department. And that doesn't have to be some big grandstanding thing. It can just be you're working with the department to identify inefficiencies within county government. Also, organizations that receive county funding to ensure that they are using the funding in the way that was intended. But when I talk about transparency, I want to point out that when you have backroom deals and you shut the door and you have backroom deals and your word that you gave is no longer good, that's not transparency. Yes, there needs to be checks and balances. Everything doesn't need to be an attack. We have 4 CPAs, I believe we have 8 with accounting degrees, we have 4 MBAs, we have a lawyer, we have a paralegal among those in the office. And I would say, you know, in my 10 years as a county legislator, and I chaired the Health and Human Services Committee, which is the largest cost center in the Erie County budget, and I served on the Finance Committee. You get to know the budget very well, and you get to know county government really well. And we work with some great people in the Controller's office who deserve the opportunity to do some great work. And I would say that, with the folks that we lose people to retirement too, right? So we need to do a better job training the young people as they're coming up so that the institutional knowledge can be shared with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And our next question, which will be the last question, is going to Kevin Hardwick first. Will you objectively audit both Democrat and Republican-led departments?
Would you repeat? No.
Will you?
Yeah, no, I was kidding, Carrie, I'm sorry. Yes. I mean, most departments right now in Erie County government are led by the county executive's appointees. The county executive is a Democrat, which means most departments are headed by a Democrat appointee. And yes, I mean, it would be tough not to audit them because, it'd be slim pickings otherwise. Now, 2 years from now, of course, there's going to be another county executive's race. And we have no idea who the candidates are going to be. We have no idea which candidate will win. So I guess there's a 50% chance that in 2 more years, we could have a Republican elected. And if that's the case, and this is a 4-year term that I would have, then I would be auditing Republican departments because there'd be a changeover there. But you also have the sheriff, and I don't know who's going to win the sheriff's office, whether it's Democrat or Republican. And you have the county clerk, which is a former student of mine, Mickey Kearns over there, who is a Democrat. However, he ran with Republican backing, so I guess that's a sort of a hybrid. So again, the answer is yes. Of course, I would audit both Democrat and Republican led agencies.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter what letter's next to your name. As I said, I'm a lifelong registered independent. If it's Republican-led, if it's Democrat-led, if it's Libertarian-led, if it's independent-led, the job of the Office of Controller is to provide transparency, to identify inefficiencies, to do what's best for the taxpayer, to be your advocate, to be a watchdog and not a lapdog. And absolutely, it doesn't matter, I don't care which party you're with, And it doesn't mean you don't need to be attacking each other, but you need to practice good government, and good government happens when you work together to identify inefficiencies, to figure out what can be done better. And, you know, if it's a Republican that's doing wrong, they need to be called out on it if they're not willing to work together. If it's a Democrat that's doing wrong, they need to be called out if they're not willing to work together. We have $338 million in COVID relief funds that are coming to Erie County or have come to Erie County. Very little input from the municipalities, and from not-for-profits and other organizations in this community was allowed. Your voice was not allowed to be heard in terms of how to spend that COVID relief money. Now, some of it, especially the money that came in 2020, there were more specific, you know, allocations for it. But for the money that came in 2021, some in the legislature tried to get more transparency, hold public meetings so that you could have some input as to how, if that's game-changing money that could make a big impact in your community, and you weren't allowed to be heard. As controller, that stuff needs to be highlighted, and so you need to be made aware. And so yes, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter.
Yeah, to answer the question, yes, and I look forward to it. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but these departments, these bureaucrats, these agencies, these elected officials continuously take your tax dollars, spend it frivolously on their projects, bail out their friends, bail out their donors, give them jobs. Meanwhile, you get nothing. I look forward to issuing reports showing you exactly how much they're stealing from you to pad their own profits. I look forward to this. This is why I picked this race, is to show people that you're being conned. The biggest criminals in this county, and I'd love to ask the sheriff's candidates this, isn't the guy smoking weed behind 7-Eleven. It's not the guy, you know, jaywalking. It's not the guy that's gonna steal a gas can out of your garage when your garage door is open. The biggest criminal in Erie County are your elected officials right now. They are stealing your tax dollars by force and blowing it. And I look forward to going on the offense and making some of these people uncomfortable. Because for years, Republicans and Democrats have blamed each other for your problems, but your wages have stayed stagnant. They continue to get raises. You guys are struggling to pay your bills. Many of you might have been put out of work during COVID. None of them lost a paycheck. Social Security increase, what, 2%? Well, inflation's 5.4%. You lost money. Congratulations, you lost spending power. None of those departments lost funding. None of those departments lost spending power. None of these politicians lost a paycheck. You're treated as a parasite. They're treating you like a parasite. And it's time we go on the offense and start cutting their funding.
Thank you all, and it's time for closing statements. We will begin with Kevin and work to the left.
Thank you, Terry. I want to begin by thanking, again, the League of Women Voters and you, Terry, and everybody else involved here for hosting this event. It's a bit of a miracle. I mean, we've had half an hour or so of discussion, free of interruptions, free of the audience hooting and hollering. I mean, we do a much better job here in Amherst and in Erie County with the League of Women Voters than certainly we saw with the national debates last year and previous years. The rules were enforced, and I thank you for that. I also thank everybody for being here. I mean, there are informed voters, and then there are voters who just go and, pick someone whose name they like. You here, by your presence, have shown that you're informed voters, and I will respect you for that, certainly, and I respect your decision that you'll make. In less than 14 hours, the voting will start, because at noon tomorrow, early voting begins. And the voting will conclude, of course, a week from Tuesday at 9 o'clock on election night. And I would ask voters, before you go to the polls, or as you go to the polls, to pick someone who will do what's needed in that office, who will affect the culture change, will show real independence. You know, over in my career, I've ticked off leaders of both political parties, and they get over it, and we go back and we work together. I would encourage you to vote for someone who has shown independence of political parties and not dependence on a political party. Thank you.
Again, as a third-party candidate, I want to thank League of Women's Voters. In 2020, when it came time for the presidential election, there were actually 3 candidates on every ballot in the country, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, but if you watched the debate, Libertarian was excluded. I'm glad that League of Women's Voters knows how to put a third chair or a fourth chair for other races up. It seems like it's a hard thing for some debaters to do. I'm going to close by saying that, yeah, I've said some pretty extreme things. I do blame both parties for our problems, and as evidenced by what's going on in Erie County, there's really no difference between the two parties. If you don't believe me, look at their actions. You have a sheriff candidate dropping out of a race and endorsing another party because they're all one and the same, they're working together. You have the GOP not running a candidate for Buffalo mayor and now supporting the Democrat, which is insane. If you don't believe me, we have the petitions that Byron Brown failed for his third-party line, and it's riddled with Republicans. Same party, they're all one and the same. They're working together to keep you guys down. They get rich when you guys pay taxes. This is pretty obvious. You don't need to see it. And even in Hamburg, where I live, the Conservative Party cross-endorsed a working families candidate. But I'm told that the working families hate police, but why are they working together? It's all smoke and mirrors to keep us divided. They want you to hate your neighbor for voting for Trump or voting for Biden. They want you to be mad at the guy down the road, because if you guys are mad at each other and infighting, you don't see what's going on. And as I've said now 36 times, they're taking your money and getting richer while you struggle. This has been going on for decades. You're going to hear the generic third parties can't win. I've heard it before. I'm a third party candidate. I get it. You're going to get the wasting your vote. Don't waste your vote on a minor party candidate. But it's not really a vote wasted if it's the best candidate. I'll leave that. And also, a vote for someone you believe in is never wasted. We've been wasting our vote for 50 years and it's got us nowhere. And it is time for change. So when it comes time to vote, please consider me for comptroller. Thank you, guys.
Well, I want to thank Kevin and Dwayne for being here today to join in this discussion. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, and to all the candidates that are out here today. Thank you for putting yourselves out there. It's not easy. I came out a few months ago with a 25-point plan for the office because I wanted you to know that I want to do what's right by the people that I serve. And I wanted you to know early on what my plans and policies were for the office. It's on votelynndixon.com. Public service to me is exactly that, public service. I'm not here to serve myself. I'm here to serve you. And it's very important to me, to be out in the community, to bring the office of the controller and the knowledge that some of the folks in the office had, bring it to you. I want to provide for property tax relief for seniors who have paid their mortgage so that they can spread out that bill over the course of a year instead of having to pay it all at once in January. I have a 25-point plan out there because it's important to me to serve you and to provide the transparency and to be a good public servant. So, I have spent the last 2 years in the office, getting to understand the office operations, getting to know the good people, the civil servants that have been there for years, and what they want and need and expect out of the office. But I also know that for you, you need to know how the government is spending your money. And Dwayne's not wrong. There's a lot of times whenever you have there's a lot of times you have one person in charge and then, they tell everybody what to do. I didn't make any backroom deals because that's not what I'm about. I'm about public service, and I would really appreciate your vote for controller. Thank you.
Thank you all, and